Welcome, welcome. Now, everyone, just give a round of applause for that beard, right? I mean, look at that thing, you know? I
Thank
mean,
you.
amazing.
Thank you
Gee,
very much.
yeah.
Did you say 2 inches a year?
Probably I started in COVID 2020. So yeah, I mean, and I've trimmed it quite a bit. So maybe a little bit more than that. I mean, we got a pretty good run here this year. So
Just a
Santa
fun
Claus is coming to town.
fun fact for everybody. You grow a long beard, you're employed in December. Automatically.
That's a fact. This is my first year I'm doing gigs for somebody other than my own clients. So
That's awesome. You see, Preston, one day, man, there's hope for you. Let it go. I love it. Well, cool. Let me dive in here real quick. Everyone, you have a phone. Download the Kajabi Communities app. Okay, so just go to the App Store, Kajabi, Kajabi, Kajabi Communities is what it'll be. And then you can sign in to Cheviron Coaching. So same login and everything else, no different than on your desktop. But now you'll have an app. And this is the only app I'm going to tell you to turn on notifications for. Turn on notifications to this app because it'll remind you as far as these community sessions or just our live training and everything else. It'll say, hey, 1 hour. Hey, starting now, to just give you nice reminders, and then it'll email you also. So those are just pieces to it. So again, download the Kajabi Communities app and then turn on the notifications, and it won't bombard you too much. We'll be cognizant of that. Last piece. This is part 2 of 3, and Austin's going to dive in here here in a moment. This is part 2 of 3 of our money series, and as a gift, we are not going to take down any of the recordings until the first of the year. Okay. So we're going to have a 2-week break going up to the first of the year. Okay. So we're going to keep all 3 parts of these for you as we dive into the rest of the year. That way you can rewatch them. Money's very important. And so we want to make sure that there's going to be pieces that you hear the first time and you watch it again the second, third, fourth time. You might catch something else that's going to impact your 2024. So I wanted to make sure we let you all know that. Cool. Austin, the floor is yours, brother.
Okay. So before we get into it here, 50,000 foot view. I'm going to go to Corey because Corey said this was his first week here. If you were not here last week, okay, all good. Make sure to watch last week's session because how I build this stuff out is it stacks on top of each other. Okay? If you haven't trained with us for long, just know that everything we do stacks on top of each other. It's almost like a pyramid. And I lay the boring base first. And yes, I said boring. Most of the time, the base is very boring. Okay, it's not sexy. It's not fun. It's not what you guys want to hear. It's what we need to hear. And I want to clarify that. Like doing this work will not be fun. Tough love, Nina. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But like it's tough love for yourself. Yeah, this is for yourself. This training that we do, it's really a holistic approach on life and business. And some people say, well, Austin, let's get more into business. And I want to say, oh yeah, I can teach you how to make 200,000, 400,000, 600,000 a year, if not more. Sure. I can teach you that. But the problem is when you put it into your system's shit. And at the end of 30 years, what do you have? You have nothing other than a life of work. You can't get out. You're trapped. And that's very important for me to not be trapped. It's important for me to share that with you. If we don't work on the base stuff, the sexy stuff doesn't matter. Put in the chat. Who knows what module 12 of our agent success program is? Put it in the chat. This is the sexy module. I love this one. What is it? Come on, let's see. Somebody's knows. What is the top of the pyramid? Module 12 of our agent success program. Module 1's goals, to give everybody a heads up. That's the base. It's not sexy. It's not always fun. It's think about what's important to you. There you go. Now we got some people. If there's a question mark, Alex, behind it, that means you're not doing a good enough job doing what you said you were going to do, which is master it. Okay. Right. Some people know. Yep. There we go. Question marks. Yep. There you go, Alex. There's your question mark. Am I mastering the system? No, you don't even know what the system is. Okay. Module 12 of our agent success program is commissions, and commission's the cherry on top, which really commission then. Let's go, Alex. Open up your mic, big boy. Let me hear you. What is commission really about, Alex? It's about two things, Mr. Mastery.
How much money you make. And then
You can just stop now. So
that's it.
this is why he's still in the program. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Who knows? Dom. Okay, Dom, you want to laugh? Okay. Keep laughing, Dom. What's commissions really about, Dom?
Knowing your value.
Okay. Which is what aspect of what I train on?
I still need to study the module.
Yes,
so.
he does. Can anybody help these two powerhouses that are lacking today? Can anybody help them what commissions is really about? You can just open up your mic. And for those new people, I don't pick on everyone like this. They're on our team. It's a whole nother level of accountability. Who knows what Module 12 is really about? It's one of the first things I talk about. Okay. It's good that you guys are all still here. We're still working on it together. There you go, Andrea. That's 5 years of coaching her. She got one. Service. It's about your service. What else is it about? Doing more than you're paid to do. Okay, that's service. Definitely. There's one other piece here. There it is. Good job, Tucker. It's about your mindset and service. It's module 12 for a reason, because without the base, your mindset is shit. Like, you might portray you're good, but then when I talk to you, you're like, oh, I'm just not doing what I need to do. I could do better. And I see the inner sides of you guys. Like, I talk to you, I see what's on the inside. The world sees what's on the outside. And where I'm going with all this is it's a base like a pyramid. Today, we're still laying the base. We might get to the next layer. Next week, we'll get to like the middle section. But we're still on the base. So if you did not watch last week's module, get back in. Nate came in and said, hey, we're leaving these for everybody for the rest of the year. We're not taking them down after a week. We take them down after a week to promote the habits of training. That's why we do it. We want you to determine the habits that you need to have for yourself. We promote that in this program. So last week, I want to do a recap of what I did last week to spur your mind to then help. Probably I want to have about 6 to 12 of you possibly share 20 to 30 seconds, your takeaways for last week, to then help somebody else out. Because when we're dealing with financials, let me tell you, we're all struggling. No one's killing it. I'll just be clear. No one's killing it. So put down the guards. We're all just trying to do better. What's not acceptable is to promote how many houses we're selling or how many loans we're doing or however many whatever we're doing, but then have the inside of you be trashed. That's not acceptable. Not here. This is a safe place. This is a place of growth. So put down your, hey, I'm really good, and let's figure out where we could do better. Because at the end of the day, the only person you're trying to impress is yourself. If you're trying to impress someone else, you're missing out. You're losing. You're going to have a 30-year career, and it's going to be shit. Okay, it might look impressive, but you'll be 70 years old. Who remembers when we were on stage talking about the 70-year-old, 80-year-old real estate agent trying to get into hologram lockbox? Anybody remember that comment I made? It's like, how do we use the hologram lockbox? I don't know. You should be 30 again. Try over. So let's go. I want to do a quick, let me open this up here. I'm going to do a quick recap, and then I want you to listen to the recap to then share. Okay, I want you to share some stuff. I want to hear what you've worked on, not what you've listened to. I want to know what you've worked on since last week. Oh, now you're catching the gap. So first thing we talked about was prioritizing your expenses. And we talked about creating a list of 3 months. So that would be November, which is now done, October and September, and getting your whole list of expenses for those 3 months and then categorizing them between A, B, and C. And then we want to reduce the C's by 25%. And then second, we want to reduce them by 50. And I'm not training back on all this. I'm just reminding you guys as we share the work we've done. The next is we wanted to create a spending plan, which I like to call, that's the fancy word for budgets. Budgets, everybody hates the B word. So I like to call it a spending plan. This is where I get to spend my money for me. Next, we want to know our 12-month averages of personal expenses. And I'm just in the personal fields because the personal is the big black hole. We're going to get into business expenses next month or next week. I apologize. Next week, we'll talk about your business. But it's the personal that takes down people, that never allows us to really get financially wealthy. After knowing your 12-month average, then I want you to create a will. I want you to be a responsible adult and get your will figured out. And there's a lot of pieces there. After that, we talked about a net worth sheet, which for some of you I saw in the community chat, we talked about how much money am I taking to my island? All right. Where's my island money? Okay. And I think that's about how far we got. We talked about open the bank accounts per module 5 of our agent success program. I'm actually going to dive in there to start again and show you. Okay. Some of you guys messaged me and said, hey, can you show us more of this? It's in our agent success program, but I will show you parts of that here today. And so I will start by sharing. Just raise your hand. I want you guys to share the work you've done over the last 7 days. Okay. And I'll start by sharing, which is I told my wife, I remember in my household, I'm normally the one that do most of the financials, but I asked my wife to get the last 3 months worth of our expenses together and categorize them. And then I started with, well, how do I do that? Right? Where would I go? You'd go into the bank accounts and you would do that. And then she showed me, she goes, well, I printed them all off. And I'm like, oh, well, don't print. That costs us money. You can just put it on an Excel sheet. And she's, we're learning. And then I had to give her the login credit card information so she could get in and see what all the expenses were. Why did I do that? Because if I just did it, my whole shell's not complete. It's okay, Jessica. We print them. I just look at money, especially around December. One of the other things we did is I do this work with my wife. Remember, there's 2 of us in my family. And last week on Tuesday, when she was calling me, when I was talking about her, we were buying coats and all the clothes for some kids for the church. And when she got done, I said, well, how'd that feel? She goes, great. I'm like, well, how much did you spend? And she said, it was like $400 some for a whole family. I said, well, how'd that feel? She goes, great. I go, well, if you stop buying all the shit we don't need, we could do that a lot more. I mean, that's what it's truly about, right? Like, how could you live on a little bit less to go help more people? Because if that really feels good, then maybe we don't buy all the stuff we don't need anymore. And we work on giving a lot more than consuming, because that's when life gets good, guys. Yes, you need something for yourself, but you probably don't need as much as you have. So I want to hear, that was my progress from last week. And just to know, I am a student of this course too. I am probably one of the best students. Because for every 1 hour we work together, I work for about 6 hours in the background on this stuff. Yeah. So who else? So I want to hear from you guys. Give me a share of what you did in the last 7 days. And if you didn't do anything, that's a hint. There we go. Let me see. There we go. A couple more hands go up. Let's get the first 6, 7 hands. I want to see you guys. Alex, let's start with you, brother. What did you do from last week?
So last week I focused on the cutting expenses portion. Um, getting 25%. So I had to come to the realization that my motorcycle is definitely an extra expense, and I'm gonna have to cut her loose until I deserve something, of that caliber. So, and that knocks out a big portion of my extra spending, so I can reinvest into myself through coaching or going to seminars or just broadening my horizons. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So haven't found a buyer yet, but still I've made the mental decision I'm going to sell it, and I still got 21 days left to sell the bike. So
Congrats, brother. That's huge. Especially
yeah.
it's great time because in the winter you can't ride it that much, right?
Yeah, I haven't rode it in a while, so it's time to let it go. So
Love it. Proud of you. Proud of you.
Yep.
Honey? Yep.
Okay, I'm good. Yeah, so I put this on Kajabi, but I'll say it here.
Yep.
I went ahead and went to mint.com and just threw everything in there so that I could see all of my transactions. And then I created 3 custom transactions, the A, B, and C. And so I spent a few hours on that. And obviously I saw some really stupid stuff that was going out of my account that I was like, oh, I need to take care of this now.
Oops. Yep. Oop. Forgot about that
But-
one. Yeah.
But yeah, but I totally forgot about the budget and those things that you mentioned afterwards. And so hopefully I can, this week continue to work on it and finish. I got the majority of expenses categorized, but hopefully I can finish it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Let's go to Mike. Mr. Mike, what'd you do in the last 7 days?
What's up, Austin? How you doing?
Hey, bud. Doing good.
I started from the top, really dug in, evaluated, the account, and because in order to know what goes where, you really got to look in and see. There's some great stuff with one-offs and things like that, but I love the fact where you said if you wasn't sure where it should go, you always drop it down, and that helped a lot because literally, there's a lot of extra in there that you don't realize, and it might be one thing, it might be regular, but I have that all categorized out for the last quarter. So my buckets are set, and I started coming up with a list of things I'm going to eliminate. And honestly, I think 25% is pretty easy. I think 50% is probably pretty easy now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
You don't really realize the little things or even the bad habits and stuff that you have, and how easy it is to alleviate that. So that's been my last week, and I watched the video through last night. Got a couple things, maybe that I missed the first go round, but so I'm to that point now. It's the list is there now. Let's go ahead and start to put things on the chopping block and get rid of them. So that's kind of where I was for the last week.
Love it. Love it. I'll say this. I'm going to go to the Abners here next. Thank you, Mike, for sharing. Part of my job is to provide more value every week than what this costs you. And this costs you more than money. It costs you time. And I'm very aware of that. And my job is to provide you more value. The only way I can do that is for you to do the work, which I can't really do. So just to be clear, for this to be valuable to you, you have to do the work. So Abners, what do you got? What did we do in the last 7 days?
Well, I updated our personal spending plan and went over that with the boss at home and started talking about the extras versus lifestyle. And we started looking at we both have a spending account that we put a certain amount in at the beginning of each month, and that's our money that we can go do what we want to do, buy clothes, buy coffees, whatever. We just started identifying all the things that we were spending that was on the grocery card, and it's like, well, was that real? And it was very easy to start eliminating stuff, and went and got my rev share allocation form taken care of because it wasn't, and I made sure that I had my primary and my secondary in there.
Love it.
And working on getting additional life insurance, and sat down. We were able to actually show my wife for the first time probably ever what our actual net worth is. And
Oh, that's exciting, man.
I don't know that she ever knew that number. And yeah, so that it was a good week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not exciting necessarily to see what that number is. It's exciting to know that you know. And now we have something we can improve. I love it. Riami.
So I was working on eliminating a lot of these extras, and I already know where it was. And for me, it was just food. A lot of it comes down to eating out or just everyday little thing. You know, the $7, $8 coffee kind of adds up on a regular basis. So been working to just eliminate all that, and being more mindful every day. Like I have a coffee machine at home that I can use, and it really, and I actually ended up just going to the grocery store with my daughter and saying, okay, if we can, we will make it ourselves at home. Let's just do that. And it was so much, it was just those little shifts that really makes a whole lot of difference. And then I started looking at, even looking at like some of the investment properties that we have, and I'm like, I'm looking at like what we're netting each month. I'm like, I don't know if, and I found one. I've decided earlier today that I think I'm going to sell one of them because the ROI is not really there, and it's just like I'd rather just get rid of that and just find a better investment. And I thought, well, that's an extra something we don't have to worry about, that we can eliminate off the plate already. And I know I thought it for a minute, I was like, well, that's an investment property. That should be under a different category. And then I thought about it. I was like, it's an extra. So that's what I was doing this week.
Love it. It all has to do with your life, guys. This is all your life and where you're going and how many people you're going to be able to help along the way. So I love it, Riami. Look at that. Look how the work spurred into other work there, which should spur into your vision you talked about last week when we were, yep.
Well, can I share something real quick about that? So I started doing that work too this week, just asking people that were, because we were in a co-work space, like co-work, like, and I asked them, because they're no longer there. I was like, what was missing in that? And it was just a validation of the idea that I had. Like they wished there was a restaurant in there, so it's easier access, just get food and go back to work. A place where they can actually get some exercise, so they're not sitting in their office the whole entire day. So that really was very helpful, because I know you saw me, I was just like, gotta do that extra work, but it went out and actually did it. It was actually a lot easier than being in my head.
It's always hard to ask people to do work to help them achieve their goals, and then they look at me like it's work. Did you guys catch that real quick? Yeah. So love it, Riami. And for anybody we normally get on about a quarter till the hour. So if you ever get on, Riami was on early last week, and we just asked her what her goals were, and we talked about it for those of you who were here. So, Michael, what do you got, brother? What'd you do in the last 7 days?
So I was really upset that when you asked the question last week, because I was always the person that used to track it all the time, that I didn't know what my last 3 months were. So I immediately went back and looked and found my number for what my last 3 months were for November, October, and September. So I know my last 3 months now, and I have the plan in place to start tracking more consistently all over again. My plan next is to start to categorize it, because I've never done that. So to really get down and really start categorizing where it's at. And it's funny that you just said the most of my extras, I can already see where they're going, and it's a lot of it's food. I got to learn how to cook. So
you gotta learn how to cook.
So I gotta learn how to cook myself. And then the only other thing, which is off topic, is I bought the big calendar. Sweet. So that's not the financial aspect, but what we did in the rest of the week. I got the big calendar. It's going right here. So I'm gonna attempt to do that on the rest coming up here during Christmas.
Look at here's a great example. Look at Miss Andrea's there. Spotlight for everybody. Boom. See her calendar right there. Boom. Changes life. It will change your life when you do that. I promise you. And last one, Margot, what have you done in the last 7 days?
So I've been working on eliminating a bunch of unnecessary things like subscription stuff like Netflix and I get a bunch of box subscriptions of stuff. 90% of it I never use anyways. So I went on and made sure to cancel all of that stuff. And then Travis got me all the passwords I need to get into the banking, and we're consolidating everything into one account.
Love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, the work, thank you guys for everybody sharing. Because I hope what we're seeing is there's a crossover that's going to happen between everybody, because what you're working on, other people are working on too. And somebody else's realization will be your realization today, tomorrow, or next week. And so I always want to make sure you'll see, as we're moving into 2024, I'll make sure to have time for you guys to share for each other. Always be aware of how long you guys are sharing, because we only have 60 minutes, and I take it very personally to make sure I provide the value in those 60 minutes. Like, it is my mission to do that. So thank you for sharing. What I want to start with this, write this word down. When I work with people on their financials, the very first thing that I work on is just awareness. Just becoming aware. And that is huge. It hurts. It takes time. But just become aware of what's happening is 50% of the work. Just awareness. So just write that word down, write it big, circle it. And maybe a question to ask yourself is, what am I not aware of financially? And December and January is great months. You know, the world slows down for anybody in the northern states. When the snow comes, the world slows down a little bit. For any of my Southerners, I'm not sure it happens that same way, but these are great months to work on your financials. That's why we're ending the year with this for you, is to give you guys the gift of getting this stuff right before the next year starts. Don't take your baggage of your financials into next year. Start cutting them now. Clean up your books. So, okay, let's get into the next part. Before we do that, what I want to do, everybody stand up here. I want to shake your bodies for a couple, 10, 15 seconds again. Yes, that's the conference room. Look at the Abners all getting up there. Attaboy. Let's do this. Jordan Hill, let's go, girl. Get your butt up. Let's go, girl. Get up. Come on.
All right. I'm wearing Mike's shirt. Don't judge me.
Okay. Let's get the blood going before we get into this boring but necessary work. I'm in a public place. Riami, let them know what you're doing, girl. Don't worry about them. If they're going to judge you, let them judge you. You know what I mean? I always like, screw them. Okay, so here's where I want to start. Well, enough of you guys have asked for this. I'm going to share my screen here. Let me minimize my dark spaces so you can see this. I am not going to go through this, but I am going to show you this. So there is when I talk about get your bank accounts open per module 5. Nate, can you give me a verbal that you can see that?
You got it. It looks
okay,
good.
Perfect. So there is our module 5 bank accounts. And you'll see, for those of you who ran through Agent Success Program module 5, there are 2 more on there, the Giving and the Dream. Just to be clear, we stopped training on those 2 because it tends to be overwhelming. But if that is open up the bank accounts per module 5. If I had a magic wand, I would have 2024, I'd have your money right. So if you've purchased Agent Success Program, make sure to get to module 5 before, the end of the year to get your accounts open, because we really want your checks to go into your deposit account, not your business operations. We want it to go into your deposit account. It will change your life once you do it, because then you'll be in control of your money. It's the same amount of money. Don't get me wrong. It's just you're more in control of it. It's organized. It has a path. You know where it's going. You know what it's doing. So if you want to take a quick picture of that, if you haven't bought the Agent Success Program, feel free to purchase it. You can go to chevroncoaching.com, click on online trainings. It'll be there. Or you can take a quick picture of this. What you won't have is me explaining how this whole thing works, because I'm not going to do that here. So there it is for you. Take a picture, come back to it if you want to get into the training. This system right here is what I use to get me from being on welfare to being a millionaire, is this exact system. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, I made it all up. It is completely made up by me from all the experts. Okay. So let's get into the next part here. We're going through phase 2 of our, what I call my treasure map. So after, well, I'm going to back up. Tucker, remember I told you there was a lot coming at you last week. And you're like, hey, where should I start? You start at the very first thing I talked about. And all of this is in a specific order for you. I really want you to work through the order from number 1 to number 2 to number 2 to number 3. I spent a lot of time ordering this to say, okay, how do I get this right without wasting all the time? And then what stacks on what? So if you just do it in the right order, I promise you it will be better than guessing. And for a lot of you guys, you have some of this stuff moving already. So maybe you already have the will in place. Great, you get to skip over it. Or if you're like me, you might need to revisit it because the last time I wrote my will, I had 4 properties and now I might have 4D, which changes. So you might need to come back to it. So next step, I want you to create a debt reduction plan. Debt reduction plan. Now, if you don't have any debt, congratulations. You work on something else. But most of us have debt. Cars, houses, credit cards, loans, this, that, student loans, whatever. Get a debt reduction plan. I just want you to be able to become aware of it. And how you're going to do that, you're going to first make a list of all your debts. Okay, here's everything I owe. And what's cool about that, when you make a list of everything you owe, you're going to have to label everything you owe. Become aware. It's like, oh shit, I forgot about that. I forgot I had $40,000 in student debt because the government said I didn't have to pay it right now. And so with your debt, what I want you to do is to include your payment on I would make a spreadsheet, but I owe Tucker $40,000. My payment to him is $1,000 a month. Tucker charges me then 10% interest. I want you to have the interest rate on there. Okay. The next is I want you to know what that monthly interest is, because that's where it really burns when you see it's like, oh shit, I'm paying Tucker $90 a month in interest. And then I want you to have the total debt owed. So for an example, I owe Tucker, and I don't owe Tucker money unless he's willing to loan it to me, Tucker. Hint, hint. I owe Tucker. Okay. So Tucker's my debt. $1,000 a month at 10% interest, costing me $90 a month, and I owe him $40,000. Now, there's more maybe you could put on there. I'm just going basics right now. And I want you to label all that out because moving forward, your great vision of your life doesn't have all this debt in it. And so we need to create a plan to get rid of it. Because you guys are going to make some good money next year. I'm telling you, you're going to make some money. The question is that money going to serve you and your life and everybody with you? And it won't serve you. You're going to get through the year no differently than maybe you got through this year. And you're like, shit, I made $100,000 and I don't really have anything. I didn't get to where I tried to get to. We talked last week. How many of us aren't where we thought we would be this year? That's okay. Let's get a little better plan in place so that way we can go through next year and we can really knock some of this stuff out, or we can invest more. Okay. The next piece, it's going to be a battle between, do I pay off my highest interest rate first, or do I pay off my lowest balance? And I'm not going to coach you through which one because without seeing the whole plan, but paying off your lowest balance gives you something called momentum. It gives you the big M. Big Mo gives you momentum. Okay, hey, I can do this. I got paid off that $300 thing. It also is like cutting an anchor on your boat. And I always say, everybody, imagine this. Everybody's got a boat, and we got the throttle down. Okay? We got a boat, and we got the throttle down. but we're not moving. You're looking back, you're like, why am I not moving? I'm in my boat, I got my throttle down. Well, the reason why is because you got 50 anchors out of the back. And they're all crossed up, and some are bigger and some are smaller. And what I want you to do is to understand what those anchors are. And then to start saying, okay, this anchor's 40,000 to Tucker at 10%, and this other anchor's 20,000 at 2%, and then another anchor's 200 at 30%. And I can start to identify them and say, okay, well, let's start to do this. Let's cut that 200 anchor. I can, on my next commission check, I know I can cut that 200 anchor. And now I go from having 3 anchors down to 2. A lot more feasible. Because what happens when your financials are so screwed up, your mind just shuts down. And it's like, I don't want to deal with it. You just say, I don't want to deal with this. But let's get it out there and let's get it organized and let's start cutting. And so if you have something small, to get rid of it clears your plate and it makes you start to focus on what you do have and what you need to work on. So you either want to cut the small one or you want to start pounding out the highest interest rate, the one that's taking you back the furthest. I personally like to go with the small one because it gives you momentum. Because really what you need, if I could give every one of you one thing, I would give you confidence. Because with confidence, you become unstoppable. And once you know that you can do it, you'll start to do it. Okay, the next one, $1,000. I want $1,000 in an emergency fund. I know it's small, but to get $1,000 sitting aside for an emergency is beautiful. Okay, you can build it up in time. If somebody in here right now is going to say, Austin, that's a piece of cake. Okay, great. Do it. And then go make it 2,000 and then go make it 5,000. And then make it so much that you're like, God, I'm just having all this money sit. Just start with 1,000. One of my mentors taught me a long time ago to borrow from myself first. It's a gift. I would tell him, hey, I'm needing some money. And he goes, well, I borrow from myself first sometimes. I put myself as a bank and I borrow from myself. This is funny. And let me tell you, that's a gift. Where are you? Because I don't know about you, but there hasn't been a year in my life in which I didn't need more money for something. Did you see this? An opportunity. Maybe just a time in my life in which I wanted to go sit at a pool in Indiana and drink some beer, right, Corey? Yes. All right. You just need some money sometimes to go do what you need to do. So give yourself the gift to borrow from yourself. Means you're going to have to live on less. Maybe you have to drink less of those $7 coffees to get there. So put that in a separate account. Give yourself that gift. The next thing. Remember, this is in an order for a reason, because the next thing, about a third of you will say you can't do it. Maybe it's even less now. I've worked through with this. The next thing is I want you to invest 10% of all your gross commission checks. So what that is, when you get let's say most of us are in real estate here. When you get a check, I said gross net is what I meant to say, your gross net. So when you get a check, I want you to invest 10% of your gross net. So your gross would be like at a $10,000 commission check. Your gross net would be, well, my company took 10% of that, let's say. Now I'm left with 9,000. The 9,000, what you get deposited into your deposit account, I want you to invest 10% of that. Okay. Now, where I was going with, before I confuse you, maybe some of you guys with what I was saying there, where I'm going with that is I told you a third of you will say, I don't have 10%. Right. And I get it. Like you're going to say, Austin, I don't have the money to invest. I'm barely getting by. And the answer is yes, you're right. You're barely getting by because you're not financially handling your money right. You're not a good steward of your money. And because you're not good, you're not given more. Okay. So I want you to invest 10% of your money. For those of you, wave your hands at me if you've read The Richest Man in Babylon. Wave your hands like this. How many people have read that? Okay. I talk about that book a lot. That was the first book I read about money, and it taught me to invest 10% into yourself, into your future. And when I train this to a lot of people, they say, awesome, but I don't have 10%. Well, after doing the work last week and then doing the work this week, you should start to find the 10%. I asked you to reduce your C expenses, your extras, by 25%. Stay there, Rob. I'm coming right to you. Stay there, brother. That 25% that I asked you to reduce, the first place you could put that is into your future. So stop consuming today and give yourself hopes for later. What you thinking, Rob?
Question on that, and maybe it's a personal decision I have to make for myself, but when you say invest 10%, potentially a two-part question here. With EXP, we're given that opportunity of 10% of the commission at a 5% discount. Or is it the other way around? I'm not familiar. I participate in that. Would you say that counts into it? Since I don't see it, it automatically goes into it, and that's not the actual net, even though I'm actually still investing in that EXP stock. Are you saying in addition to that as well?
Great question. So I'm going to go up another level above that. So Rob's company takes money out of his check and invest it for him. No differently than if you had like a 401k match, if anybody has that at their company here. Okay. I would include that. Yes. Okay. I would include that. So you're going to have to do a manual math to then say, okay, well, 5% already came out. So now what I would tell you to do is no less than 5% of what you now get, Rob, goes into something for the future. It might go into your emergency account to start. And a lot of people, I'm not breaking down exactly where that 10% should go right now. Okay, that's not what I want to do because it can go a lot of places. Here's what I'm asking of all of you is just put it somewhere and don't spend it. Okay, that's step one, is just put it in an account and watch it start to pile up. You get a $100 check, it's $10. You get a $10,000 check, it's $1,000. You get a $5,000 check, it's $500. And it starts to add up. And then what I've always done in my career is I waited until I knew where I wanted to put that money and invest it. And so I collected it all, and then I shipped it out every 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I would ship it out. Worst case is I would borrow from myself and write an IOU. And I don't recommend that to everybody because you're not as diligent with your money as possibly I was back then when I was doing that. You guys ever watched the movie Dumb and Dumber where they open up the suitcase and it's the whole thing of the IOUs? I would go through my books, and in March I'd be like, well, I owe my investment account some money. I owe this account some money, but I would keep track of it. But let me tell you, here's the beautiful thing is when I needed money, I could borrow from myself first. And it was beautiful. And then I paid it back with my upcoming commission checks. So to go back to Rob's question is if you have a company match of something, that's part of your investment into your future. I don't want to split hairs and tell you what that money should be and where it should go. Yeah, that's a whole nother training, but just separate it. Start to separate it. No differently than per this module right here. I'm opening this back up. When your money comes into your deposit account and we move a percentage over, it sits over here in this bank account and it sits there and I can see it. Yes, I can use it if I need to, but it's sitting there and it's ready to be deployed for my future. That's my future money. Because what I can promise you, if you don't spend all your money, you're going to need it later. Right? You're going to need it later. Well, let's keep moving here. So after 10%, the next thing is in your personal account is I want you to keep 1 month's worth of personal expenses in reserves. It's kind of like that oh shit money. I want you to get one account, 1 month's worth of reserves of your personal spending. Well, to do that, you have to know what you spend monthly. right? Michael was saying, hey, I always knew what my money was, but the last 3 months, I kind of just let it go for great reasons. But now he doesn't know what he spends monthly. He probably has a pretty good idea. But if you knew you spent $5,000 a month from your personal account every month, I want you to take 1 month and get that in reserves. Because here's the worst thing that happens. I'll tell you, I've been through it. The worst thing that happens is the market changes and you have less sales coming in. Okay. The market changes and you have less sales coming in. And when that happens, you start cutting things out like this, for an example. Okay. Because this isn't urgent. It's only important in your life. It's not urgent. And you cut things like this and all these other important things that are going to help you get somewhere in your life. You start cutting these out quickly. And yes, you fund that month, but now you've cut your year short or you've cut your decade short. And so do yourself a favor, put that aside to say, hey, when the storm comes, I can be like a rock in the storm. I know I'm good for at least 30 more days and I don't have to make any crucial decisions and I'm good. Okay. That's what I want you guys to do. Next one, we've talked about this, is we want you to get a life insurance policy. There's a responsibility that you have while you're here on earth. Once you get your stuff right, we need you to have a life insurance policy. Because if not, what's not fair is for someone else to have to pay to bury you. Right? Like that's just not fair. It's not fair for you to live your life and you go to get your coffee and then you get to go travel. And then when you die, I have to bury you. It's like, damn it, Jared. Come on, man. You know, live on a little bit less, be a responsible adult. The number that they always recommend is 10 times what you make. So if you make 100,000, then get $1 million policy. I don't want to get deep into this. I just want to let you know there is a responsibility. So maybe as Riami said, those $7 to $8 coffees, maybe you just get a couple less of those. And you do what you're supposed to do, which is, hey, cover yourself while you're alive. And then also make sure you cover yourself if something happens to you. It's not someone else's job to bury you. It's not. Make the coffee yourself. There you go. We're gonna talk about a little hack next week on some business hacks that I'm going to share with you on how to cover your butt in case stuff happens. Okay, so life insurance policy. What times your annual income? How much? Put in the chat. There we go. Tucker's showing you. We got Abner's right there. 10 times. Thank you. 10x. That's a starting point. 10x. Because all of us sometimes we just need a target to aim at, right? It's like, if you just give me a target, then I can go from there. Then I can call someone and say, hey, I was told 10x. What do you think? Because when you call an insurance person, you don't know if it's their first day or their 9,000th day. I would say gross, Andrea. Take your gross. Because your nets, unfortunately, are a lot less than what we hope for them to be. So 10x your gross. Okay. But now you can go to your insurance person and say, hey, what do you recommend? And what you don't ask them is how many days have you done this and how many clients have you served? That's normally not what we ask. But if they say 2 times what you make, then you want to say, can you tell me how you come up with that conclusion? I'm telling you how I deal with people right now. I'm giving you hints. Tell me how you come up with that. Well, that's what somebody told me. Okay, well, how do I know that someone that told you isn't stupid? All right, watch the advice you get. Giving you hints here. Yes, I am very direct. If this is your first time with me, I am very direct. But I'm direct and to the point so I can get to where I'm trying to get to. I'm okay to cut through the fluff. What I don't want someone doing is selling me a 50 times my gross life insurance policy. And now I'm spending all this extra money on stuff I don't need. I'm not trying to make the people that are with me rich necessarily when I die. I'm just trying to make sure I cover my stuff and that my family or whoever can get by for a period of time. Yes, they are going to have to get a job and live. Well, this is good work to do now. Next one. I hope a lot of you have done this one. We got a couple more here. The next one is I want you to separate your business and personal accounts. Right? Seems very simple, right? Separate your accounts. Oh, sure, Austin. Now, that means your credit cards too. That means when you buy something on your business, for your business, you put it on your business card. These are very basic things done horribly for real estate agents. Because what happens, here's the next truth. What happens is when you don't do that, you have to unwind it at the end of the year. Right? Like if I have this bill go on my personal credit card, this is a business expense for all of you. If you're not writing this off, you're losing money. This is a bit, damn it, Andrea. You're writing. I know you're writing this off. Come on. Don't tell me. We've worked 5 years together. Don't tell me you're not writing this off.
What? This
okay.
Coaching?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I saw your face. It looked like you won. It looked like
no.
I caught you.
No.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I got a shit ton of write-offs this last tax year. I think I told you that.
Yes. Good. So what we want to do is we want to separate our business and personal accounts. That's just not bank accounts. That's what we're spending our accounts, our money through. And we really need to make sure coming into 2024 that we are as close to 100% on point with when I spend money in my business, it's through my business account. And when I spend money at home, it's through my home account. You know, one quick one that most people don't get, and I would recommend talk to your CPA about this, is your home internet is a business write-off. Ah, look at that. Andrea just put it. That's what happens when we work together for years. Your home internet is a business write-off. The question is it coming out of your business expense? And we want to completely separate those two. Because what happens when you guys do your taxes in June next year, they're not due in June. That's your extension date. Yeah, there's some laughs. Okay, good. When you do your taxes in June, you have no clue what you did in March the year before. I want this one to hit home. When you do your taxes next year, you're not going to remember what you did in March. And Alex, open up your mic for me real quick. What happens? Okay, open up your mic. I want to see it open up real quick. Thank you. What happens to your financials when you don't remember what accounts? What ends up happening?
Commingled.
And then what happens with the commingling? What's the result?
I don't know.
You pay more taxes. Okay? You're going to pay more taxes, which means you're going to have less money at the end of the month than what you thought. And a lot of us are fighting to say, I can feel it right now. You're like, Austin, I don't have all the money to do this. Right? Like you're asking me to have this here. You're asking me to have this here. You're asking me to have this here. I don't have the money to do that. Yes, it's because you're not a good steward of your money. And just to be clear, this is the basic stuff. We haven't even got like this. When I type this out, I put begin. This is where you begin. This is not advanced work yet. We're not talking about even building wealth. We're talking about doing the ABCs of financials right now. And what happens is because no one taught us this when you got, I'd say most of us here are real estate agents. When you got your license, there was no financial 101 in your real estate school. Your broker doesn't teach you how to handle your finances. And the majority of us are just left, we make the money and then it's like, where did it all go? If you're not looking at your accounts right now saying, where did it all go? I would be surprised. It's December. Where did it all go? I know I did well this year. Why don't I have anything? So when we separate our expenses, one, you're doing that to be a good business owner. But two, you're doing it to reduce your tax amounts. Rob, put your question in the chat for me. I got a couple minutes here, so I'm going to try to finish this. Sorry. One of the ways to have more money is to pay less taxes. And I don't mean buy more stuff to write it off. I mean, organize it so you ensure everything that you can write off, you are. And when you do that, you'll have thousands of more dollars at the end of the year. If you saw Nina put in the chat, Nina says, I'm hiring a bookkeeper and a CPA. They're free when they do their jobs. They become free almost. Because if not, then you're doing it and you're paying the government more money. Okay, you're paying the government more money because you're not organized. Okay, two more, and I'm going to end. And then Rob, I'll stay after and answer that question for anybody that's got questions. But out of respect to everybody, I'm going to land this thing in the next 3 minutes. The next two, I want you to have a folder in your email. For every commission check you get, you probably get notice from your broker of some kind. If you still get a paper check, then you get a paper folder. Or take a picture and put it in an email folder. I want you to have a list of every check you get in an email folder. As simple as that is, I want you to be organized with your money coming in. Because I will tell you in February, March, April, May, when your accountant's like, hey, do you have this? You can go back to your email and see, here's all my commission checks and here's how it all broke down. If you already have it, great. Keep moving. You're doing good. If not, let's get it organized. And what I personally do, I put 2023 deposits, 2022 deposits, 2024 deposits. And that's in my email. And every deposit I get, I just put it right into that deposit. If I have to work on something with that deposit, it doesn't go in that account until I work on it. Sometimes there's errors. Sometimes there's money that I owe people through it. But I want you to organize all that. And then here's the last one. Here's your cherry on top. In 2024, yes, I create a new one in my email every year. And then I have 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So I can go back through in my email and see all of my commissions. And then the last one right here, if you watched our calendar training, you saw I did it once a month. But I want you to work on your financials for an hour a week. If you follow our run rest cycle, you'll see that we run 4 days, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's not in our run schedule. And I want you to work on your financials for 1 hour a week. I want you to commit to that. The last Friday of the month, I want you to do a deep dive. But 1 time a week for an hour, work on your financials. Give yourself that gift. I mean, think how stupid this sounds. You spend 60 hours a week making money, and you spend 0 hours a week working on the money you made. Doesn't that just sound stupid? But no one's teaching us to do this. And I can promise you, if you don't do it, you have a 99.8% chance of not getting to your end vision. And I know this because I've sat around real estate agents for 33 years of my life and watched them not get there. So give yourself the gift of 1 hour a week. If you think you don't have time, then just take whatever your vision is and throw it in the trash, because it's probably not going to happen. You got to give yourself the gift. In that hour, what I want you to do is to go back through these last 3 modules or these 3 trainings. And I tell you exactly what to do. First thing, Tucker, what's the first thing you do in that hour? You work on what? First thing. You remember?
I don't know.
First thing we talked about last week.
Oh, yeah. Categorizing your expenses.
There you go, brother. There's your first hour. And then once you get that, then you go to your spending plan. And just work your way through it. Give yourself the gift of 1 hour a week. The more money you have, the more time you'll have to do. Okay, the bigger your business is, the bigger your net worth, the more you have to manage. You might have to do 2 hours a week. But just remember this simple thing. If I'm asking you to do 1 hour a week to work on the money that you have coming in and going out, and you're spending then 59 hours trying to make it, the balance could be off a little bit. Give yourself the gift on working on where does this money go after I make it? Because if not, the one thing I can promise you is at the end of the month, at the end of the year, you won't have anything left. And that just isn't cool. That's not going to get us anywhere. So this was part 2 today. I appreciate you guys sticking around here. Next week, we're going to work on your business. Okay. Your business is an advanced piece. Personal's basic. Business is a little more advanced. Rob, you got to run. Let me see what you said here, brother. If I can, and everybody, I apologize. You can run if you need to. I told Rob I'd answer his question. Nina, I'm going back through the questions. If you have a bookkeeper, CPA looking at your business accounts, would you have them do the same for your personal? I would tell you to have them start with your business and you work on your personal. I want you to handle your personal to start with because it takes the most amount of work and it's probably been neglected the most. So
Fair.
you work
Thank
on
you.
you work on that to start. Rob, was that your same question?
Yeah, that was my question. Nina said she was going to have a bookkeeper CPA. I highly recommend it. My question was kind of adding on to it. Would you have them additionally look at this? But it makes sense. So
you got to do the dirty work first.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do the hard, dirty work first, because if you don't, they can't do it for you. Really.
Yep.
They can't help you. And
sure.
Last thing, see you, Rob. Last thing I want to tell everybody who's still here is it's hard work initially to do it. Okay. It's really hard work because it's been neglected and not taught to you. But once you do it and you get it going, it's easier and easier and easier. Okay, I just want to give you that hope as you get in. You're like, God, this is hard. I just want to quit. Just want to go back to doing what's easy. As you do it longer and longer and longer, it gets easier and easier and easier to the point now where I'm personally at is I fund my personal account a dollar amount and I don't really care where it goes. I don't have to worry about it unless I want to take my personal down. I already know I have X amount of dollars that goes towards my family's lifestyle, fixed expenses and extras. As long as it stays within that amount, I don't really care where it goes. Because I've done the work to understand it and to get it down from, say, 10,000 down to 7,000. And I know what's in that 7,000. So as long as it stays within there, my house payment gets paid and I go on vacations, I don't have to do the work anymore. I might have to check in every once in a while, but I don't have to do the work anymore. Now I go to the next phase, which is get my business right. And then after that, I get my vision right. Last thing we'll talk about next week is vision. Okay. We all have a vision. I want to help you get there. So, okay, guys, I appreciate everybody. We'll see you next week. Nate will have this uploaded by the end of the day in there. Probably, Nate. Sound good-ish? That's our goal. Yeah, we will try our best. I appreciate everybody. If you got questions, put something in the community chat, what you got out of today. Thank you, everybody.
See you, everyone.